When did you first encounter immigrant art growing up?
I suppose I encountered it when I moved from Haiti to the United States at 12, and not so much immigrant art, but I encountered art as an immigrant, and in a lot of art that I read, actually a lot of Haitian art, a lot of Haitian literature I encountered when I came here. So I was an immigrant reading literature from my country, at the same time an immigrant reading other immigrant writers and other American writers at the same time.
What are some of the differences you saw in Haitian art, Haitian immigrant art in America? What did they try to do different things? Did they have different obligations?
Well, I think ultimately all artists want the freedom to create without ideological restrictions, and all art, whereas art created by immigrants or art created by people who were native to both Haiti and the United States, had that, at least that quest, that sense of wanting that freedom. Probably art created by immigrants or immigrant art has this distinction of being often, whether the writer writes about either place or both, or even whether or not they write about being immigrants, there is that sense, perhaps a shadow of another culture over immigrant art or art created by immigrants. Where even if the person is saying, I don't ascribe to anything, there is still the sense of this place I've noticed where both these cultures meet.
How did that shadow or those differences in language and place influence your own work? And has it transformed over time?
It's always there, I think, for me. For example, even when I'm writing about something that has nothing to do with Haiti, of course I'm looking at it through the gaze of someone who was born in Haiti and who has also the experience of having spent a lot of my life in the United States. So that's always there's always the mixed gaze of that. And as you get older and sort of have more experiences, I mean, that's part of who I am as a human being, where those places meet, but also as an artist.
How do you think Haiti is regarded in the American imagination, whether literary or more broadly? And is that reputation helpful or harmful or neither?
Well, I think in the general American imagination, perhaps in other parts of the world as well, people think they know Haiti through certain broad strokes. From what we see in the news, there's political crisis, there's there's extreme poverty and disasters. And I think what we don't see in the general public, in the general press, is that Haiti also has an extraordinary, vibrant, and wonderful culture. There's incredible music and incredible art and, of course, incredible literature from Haiti. And once people are exposed to a little bit of it, they're often eager to learn more, because those things, I think Haitian art is probably Haiti's biggest ambassador.
What role do you think immigrant artists play in the broader American literary landscape? How do they fit into American literature?
Well, we've seen, in recent years, certainly there's been a great influx and contribution of artists who were born elsewhere and who sort of breathe a different life, a different vibe into American literature, whether they're immigrants, first generation or second generation, writers like let's start with, even if they're children of immigrants, like writers like Amy Tan or Juno Diaz or Julia Alvarez, Jhumpa Lahiri. America prides itself sometimes when we're not castigating immigrants, but we also pride ourselves on being a land of immigrants. So those voices are always, I think in the more recent years they seem to have been moving closer to the center, because we are part of a more global world, and all these experiences, I think enrich American culture, because all these voices are here. And now having writers from these different communities, they tell us also, they tell a story about the place where these writers come from, or their parents come from, but I think they also tell a greater story about America, a more complex cultural story about who's here, who's creating here, and what they're contributing to the overall culture in the United States.
And how do you think these immigrant writers are regarded in their home countries? And I know it probably varies a lot by the writer and by the country, but is there a way to characterize it broadly?
I think it's different in many places, and I have many friends from different who live here and who write here in English, but who come from different cultures. In some places it has a lot to do with class, because a lot of in many of the places, especially like very culturally stratified places, there a lot of us who ended up emigrating and living here, probably it's because in some cases, not all, for a lot of us, our parents came here for better opportunities, and some of us our people were not necessarily writers in the places where we come from. So, but there's often, generally, once the writer has had some success and acceptance here, they're very much, in some cases, very much treasured where they come from, and people are proud of what they've accomplished. And it's interesting because, especially for the first generation of immigrant writers here, they're defining it as they're going along. And for a lot of these writers, for a lot of us, there weren't really any precedents, so there isn't a rule book in our particular culture on how to be a writer from elsewhere in the United States. There were other models, like the people I've mentioned, but for some of us, it's like you're just starting and you're feeling your way. And so, and for the audience back home, for the readers back home, for the readers here, it's the same thing. We're sort of all filling it out and doing it as we go along.